you know what? It's not a bad idea. I've heard this from a couple content creators. One of them, most notably, is CJ. He spoke of how he wants to put himself in a position where he is the gig app. Today is Thursday, May 8, 2025, and if this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks also for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I've already completed a load board based opportunity earlier today, and now I'm on yet another catering opportunity. And truth be said, I took this one because, well, kind of talked it over with a fast friend of mine. And it was based on the strategy of a load board based opportunity that I was looking at yesterday. Needless to say, I didn't get it because somebody booked it at a lower number, which seems to be the case a lot of times these days. I can cry sour grapes and say that there's just a bunch of thirsty motherfuckers out there, and there are a bunch of thirsty motherfuckers out there. They're doing shit that really doesn't make any sense, but you know, a lot of that has to do with the times that we're in, and it's also an age-old. It's also an age-old debate question. It's an age-old discussion point, in that people just will do stupid fucking things, and yesterday was no different. So the strategy was, if I'd booked that load board based opportunity at the number that I was looking at, then the catering opportunity would have just complemented things, and I've been fine for today. As it turned out, I called a consolation opportunity, a load board based opportunity. And it appears, at first appearance, it seems as if the load board base opportunity kind of cleans up the catering opportunity, but both of them are not that great. In fact, this particular load board base opportunity, the last time I booked it, well, actually, I'm booking it for a slightly higher number than I did the last time I did this run. But this catering opportunity, like I said, I mean, this one goes against what I really normally do. And it seems as if I've been on a bad run of accepting opportunities that I know that I normally wouldn't do. Some people say because of market conditions, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And you know what? I get that. Sometimes you do have to do what you have to do. But you don't want to make it a fucking habit, because what then happens is that you get caught into doing dumb ass shit, dumb ass thirsty shit. And I know that we kind of discussed this on my my most recent live stream, in which I had as a guest Gigabyte New York City, Dominic, and we talked about things in a rather cordial, intellectual way. And he explained why he does certain things, and there's a method to his madness. So I guess I can respect that. I mean, obviously I was respectful in the course of our conversation, and we talked more afterward. But even then, there are people who are just doing some dumbass thirsty shit that don't make any sense whatsoever. And all they're doing is fucking up the market. They're really fucking up the market. That's one reason. Well, there's a lot. I mean, someone accused me of being a gatekeeper. And I have no shame then of being a gatekeeper. I'm not going to divulge everything. I'm just not. I stopped divulging 90% of the stuff that pertains to gig apps over a year ago. And I'll continue to be reticent at divulging things as they pertain to gig apps, because number one, what you're doing is opening the door for a rush of thirsties, a rush of people who are not used to earning money or have no concept of earning money, and so they see something, what they see, they think that's great money, or they feel that they must get this, and this goes outside of one's personal situation. I mean, I get it that one's personal situation can dictate what you do, can dictate a lot of your decisions. In fact, I admit that my personal situation dictates some of my decisions, but at the same time, I think I've made more than my share of correct decisions, if not smart decisions, that have enabled me to remain in this space, this delivery and transport space. That's not the only thing I want to talk about. Now, my still going ahead with doing this catering opportunity also is predicated upon the fact that I missed out on a couple of last mile gig app opportunities. Yesterday, I missed out one by maybe two or 3 seconds. Today, it seems I missed out on it by less than a second. And then the other one, well, it looks like somebody just did some dumbass thirsty shit just to say that they got something. And I don't understand this something is better than nothing mentality, or I don't understand the mentality that, hey, well, this is better than being on a W-2. Fuck that. Fuck that. And if you don't like what I got to say, fuck you. But I'm looking at this as someone who has gone through some of what you've gone through, where I've accepted some dumbass shit at one point, and then you kind of get smart, and you realize, or at least you kind of become informed, and then you realize that, hey, that's not the best move what I just made. But if you don't know, then guess what? You continue to keep doing the same old dumbass shit. So now, I get it that there are folk who may be offended by what I say. I once had someone who commented to the fact that, well, you know, that what you're saying is, I'm a Christian and I'm offended by what you're saying. And then I responded, God damn it, I'm gonna keep on saying what the fuck I'm saying. And if you don't like it, get the fuck away from here. That's kind of what I said. Now, I think what ended up happening is that that person deleted the comment. I don't think I deleted it, but I think that person deleted the comment. And then fine. I mean, I've had people to block me or unsubscribe for similar reasons, but I don't apologize. I'm about less than 10 minutes away from the drop-off location. Oh, by the way, man, going to the catering pickup location, I ended up, number one, having to circumvent one accident by going 2 miles out of the way. That made me late already. But then the second accident, I just missed by seconds. In fact, here's actual footage of me recording the crash scene. It looked like when I happened to glance down and looked up, and I see two vehicles kind of coming to a stop, and it looked like a classic case of two vehicles rubbing paint or one clipping the other, and they both go into the wall, and that's kind of what happened. And as you can see, there's one vehicle that's up against one side, the other one vehicle that's up against one barrier, and then the other vehicle's kind of like in the middle of a lane. But yeah, it's been a crazy day today with traffic. All right, so again, I am closing in on the drop-off location, and my closing in on the drop-off location means that I'm gonna have to cut away. But I do want to broach this before this thought for when I come back, and that is about this argument of, hey, you know what? It's not a bad idea. I've heard this from a couple of content creators. One of them, most notably, is CJ. He spoke of how he wants to put himself in a position where he is the gig app and that he books his own opportunities. Now that's what I call cash game, building a clientele base where they're calling upon you and you're setting your rates for your services, and if they like what you're doing, of course you're going to be in a better position of leverage with earning the type of money that you think that you should earn. Now, the thing with becoming, this is just my observation and my observation only. When you become the gig app, when you become the person in demand where you can either accept or reject opportunities that come your way, but most importantly, set your price. And then ultimately at some point where you can disperse or dispatch opportunities out to other people. That type of stuff does not happen overnight. And I thought about this yesterday because I've been in a position where I've built up an insurance agency in 2 different iterations. Currently, my insurance agency is not dormant. There is a very small book of business, but that's by choice because I've made way more money doing delivery and transport than I have at any time during insurance. So I maintain the office for tax purposes, but also for licensing purposes, and there may be some other reasons down the road as well. My point is that the first iteration, when I did when I concentrated on individual insurance, individual life and individual health, and then group benefits like the medical, dental, the ancillary stuff like vision, short-term disability, group life, AFLAC. It took me nearly 2 years to build up a book of business that sustained me on a monthly basis. Now, without getting into a lot of insurance speak, a lot of it had to do with how the money was going to be coming in as an agent. And so it took longer for me to build the book of business in the path that I took in that first iteration than had I gone what was then a more popular way of doing things. In other words, you got your money up front, but then you ran the risk of being charged back. Whereas I got my money as people paid their premium, and I reduced greatly the possibility of having chargebacks. And so that enabled me to remain in business, in fact, till today. In the second iteration, in which I have been involved in primarily property and casualty, the building up of the business is literally getting out there and trying to find the clientele, be it for the personal insurance like your personal auto and homeowner policies, or going out for the business insurance like your commercial general liability or your commercial auto or your business owner policy, things like that. That doesn't happen overnight. And then again, when you write those policies, you don't see those commissions until the following month, and sometimes even later, depending on whom you're dealing with for their commission schedules. So that said, I know that if I really as I expand upon my cash game opportunities, for example, the person whom I showed in this segment of the Gig Geezer, I mentioned in this segment of the Gig Geezer, with the furniture that I've moved in the box truck. At least I delivered from out of my box truck. The furniture in which I delivered out of my box truck. That's someone whom I met 2 years ago off of a gig app, off of a last mile gig delivery app, and she has called upon me over the last 2 years. Well, that's not something that happens every week, but yet I hope you see where I'm going. Even with some of my more recent cash game opportunities, I've been in a position where I've kind of met the right people, But that stuff doesn't happen overnight. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm here at the drop-off location for this catering opportunity, and I'll get back with you. I am completing this segment of the Gig Geezer from the Geezer studio because I had a lot of things that just kind of hit me in a continuous fashion after completing that catering opportunity. And but what I will start off with is in the context of my last point about us becoming the gig app. In other words, we are truly expanding the cash game opportunity to where it is a full-blown business operation. That's what it amounts to. But it's all about how does it begin? How does it begin? Well, I'll give you an example. Upon putting out all the items for that catering opportunity, I noticed that the person who organized it, he's a medical sales rep. This is the second opportunity that I've seen him in recent weeks, and I told him, "Hey, we meet again." And so I flipped him a couple business cards, and that I said, "Hey, look, maybe you may not feel like going through the apps and all that, and you may want to work with someone who's dependable, as what you can tell, and get things to you in short order. What you do is order the orders and then just get in contact with me in terms of delivering opportunities." I told him that I had a Sprinter van and a box truck to handle even larger orders, and he says that he will get back in contact with me. Most likely he will email me. Of course, that's what they say, but you never know. I mean, that's kind of how the cash game opportunity I had a couple of days ago. The lady, I did a gig app based opportunity for her back in 2023. We talked, exchanged. Well, I handed her a couple of my business cards, and I was really surprised when she got back in contact with me. It was several months later. I mean, these things just don't happen overnight, but it was several months later. And she asked me if I were available and what would be my price to transport an item that she had purchased. That one didn't go. That opportunity fell through. But then there was something that did come up a couple months later, in which I did complete my first cash game opportunity with her. And then my prior to this one that I did on Tuesday, the last cash game opportunity that I did for her was back in August of last year. So it was last summer. Now, in her case, I think part of the reason why there was this delay is because she was expecting. She had her second child back in February, and so she's getting back into things. So again, these things don't happen overnight. My other cash game opportunities came about with my making contact with someone, and we've since kind of hooked up on some opportunities, about 20 of them. That one came about fairly fast, but then there are other opportunities that have just taken time. But in building up a business, some of it is your persistence. Some of it is how much time you're going to devote towards it. I'm pretty sure that if I were in a financial situation where I didn't have to go out and do what I do really on a daily basis, I probably could devote more time to that, beat the pavement more, work the emails, maybe make more phone calls, and I'd probably have a much more consistent stream of cash game opportunities, which could then develop into a true business operation. And I think that's what it's all about. We talk about being in business for ourselves, and ultimately what we're trying to do is scale ourselves to some point to where our money is making money for us, and perhaps even other people who are making money for us. And that's what it's all about. Now, I would be remiss to not mention that in recent segment of the Gig Geezer, I talked about how I am making effort at dealing with what I sense is going to be a slowdown of the marketplace, at least in my immediate market or my immediate region. And my rant or diatribe earlier about thirsties and making stupid ass fucking decisions and all is based on the fact that, hey, I see the writing on the wall that we can't be overly dependent on the gig apps. We just can't. And we can't, or if not dependent, place a lot of confidence in gig apps, because these gig apps are going to create market conditions where the pay is going to go down. And you can call it competition, but it's really the saturation of the market in such a way that, I mean, it's going to fuck things up. I mean, look what's happening with rideshare. Look at what's happening with rideshare. It's the same thing's going to happen with the gig apps. And I would even go as far as to say, even with some of the load board based opportunities. And so what are we going to do? What am I going to do? Well, that's part of the reason why I wasn't able to get back. At least I wasn't able to resume this segment of the Gig Geezer from the van, because I was filling out some paperwork, and I was in conversation with someone who reached out to me about some delivery and transport opportunities that may be off load board based. It may be more direct, maybe more of a direct or dedicated lane opportunities. So there you go. So that's all I have to share for this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.